All the countries in the world are in debt. The United States currently carries a record-breaking debt of over $38 trillion. The European Union owes about $14 trillion, Japan around $9 trillion. Even oil-rich nations like Saudi Arabia, or export powerhouses like Germany and China, hold massive amounts of debt. But here's the paradox. If everyone owes money, then who are they borrowing from? This is the financial history where money, power, and the past intersect. And nothing is as simple as it looks. Debt isn't just a burden on your back. It's the architecture of the modern world. Every war, every crisis, every rise and fall sits on top of an invisible skeleton we call debt. And if you follow the chain of creditors long enough, you discover an uncomfortable truth. The world doesn't owe money to some mysterious elite. It owes money to itself. But that doesn't mean everyone benefits equally. Today, with more than $315 trillion of global debt, almost 3 times the world economy, to understand how we got here, we need to go back to the very beginning. Let's go way before credit cards and digital money existed. The idea of national debt wasn't born on Wall Street, it was born on the battlefield. In 1694, England was at war with France, and the treasury was running out of gold. The king turned to the merchants and essentially said, "We need money." The merchants replied, "We'll help you if you promise interest backed by future taxes." And so the Bank of England was created. This was a revolution in finance, because for the first time a government began spending money it didn't physically have. And what did investors get in return? A promise from the state. A piece of paper that said, "This is a bond. It can be bought and sold," and just like that, the modern financial system was born. Other nations quickly followed. France copied it, Holland improved it, and the newly formed United States adopted it to finance its revolution. Debt stopped being a sign of weakness and became a mark of power. The more you can borrow, the more you can rule. Empires once conquered land for gold. Now they issue bonds for interest. The battlefield is no longer swords and shields, it's balance sheets and statistics. Fast forward to today. Debt is the world's biggest product. The US owes $38 trillion. Japan passed $9 trillion. Global debt increases by $1 trillion every 100 days. Everyone owes everyone. You, me, banks. We are all both borrowers and lenders, so who holds the end of the rope? Let's start with the US. Half of its debt belongs to investors, mostly American banks, pension funds, investment funds, insurance companies, and the Federal Reserve. In other words, the US owes, mostly, itself. The remaining 1/3 is held by foreigners, Japan, China, the UK, and others. So the phrase "America owes China" is true, but not the full picture. Most of the debt circulates inside the US government issues bonds. Banks buy them. The Fed buys them back. Money is created. Americans pay taxes. And some of that money flows right back to their accounts. A loop. And it's not just America. Japan lends to the US. The US lends to Europe via the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations through the World Bank. Those nations invest their reserves back into Western bonds. A global cycle of debt. Imagine everyone at a poker table borrowing chips from each other, but no one ever leaves the table. Because if someone walks away, the whole game collapses. And the most important player in the system, central banks. They don't just manage debt, they create it. They buy bonds and create money. Every dollar in circulation is someone's debt. There is no such thing as debt-free money. The engine of this system. Confidence. As long as people believe government will pay their interest, the machine runs. Nobody plans to repay the principal, only to roll it over. But what happens when confidence disappears? We saw it in Greece. We saw it in Argentina. We saw it in Sri Lanka. Economies collapsed. People suffered. And then what? The system reset. New loans, new debt. Same cycle. Because in the modern world, debt isn't meant to be paid off. It's meant to be renewed. Governments never say, let's pay off the debt. It's not a conspiracy, it's policy. Interest is the rent we pay to keep the system running. Government debt is the world's safest asset. Banks use it as collateral. Central banks treat it as money. If debt resets to zero, the global system collapses. So the promise of a balanced budget is a fairy tale. And here's the real truth. We owe the debt to ourselves isn't fully accurate, because the flow of interest doesn't circle back evenly. It flows from workers to investors. Debt is not just between nations, it's between classes. Debt is a machine with winners and losers. And when the fuel runs out, the machine stops. And then it's not just an economic issue, it's everyone's life. Today, the world has turned debt into money. Governments create it, banks multiply it, investors sell it, and the public trusts it. Debt was once a shackle. Now it's the balance of the system. But if that balance breaks, never forget, debt is a promise that cannot be held forever. If this gave you a new perspective, make sure to subscribe. History knows the answers.